The first bullet came at 14:34 hours, punching through Sergeant Miller's head. The Marine squad scattered, but there was nowhere to run. The desert was flat, a mile of open terrain, and somewhere in invisible positions, death. "Sniper, find cover!" Lieutenant Jake Morrison shouted, but there was no cover, only sand, and the enemy could see everything. The second Marine fell, then the third. "Thermal scan," Morrison ordered. "Find the sniper positions." Corporal Davies looked through his thermal scope, then shook his head. "Sir, thermal's completely white. I'm only seeing heat waves. Sand's 140 degrees, body temp's 98. Everything's mixed together." Morrison's stomach dropped. In the Iraqi desert, at midday heat, thermal scopes didn't work. The sand was so hot it matched body temperature. Everyone was invisible. The fourth Marine took a chest shot, screaming as he hit the ground. "Skywatch, this is Alpha Team," Morrison shouted into his radio. "Ambushed by 8 enemy snipers. Thermal's not working. Heat's too extreme. Need immediate support. Alpha Team, air support is 35 minutes out. Sandstorm approaching. Helicopters can't fly. QRF is 50 minutes. The 5th Marine went down. Headshot. 12 Marines, 5 dead in 5 minutes. Morrison looked around. On the horizon, a sandstorm was approaching. A massive brown wall. It would reach them in 10 minutes. Visibility would drop to 0. In a sandstorm, they'd be blind, and the enemy snipers would pick them off one by one. That's when a voice came over the radio. Female, calm, almost a whisper. "Alpha Team, this is Mirage. I can see you. I can see the enemy snipers. I can help." Morrison responded, "Mirage, who are you? Where are you calling from?" "I'm 900 meters west of you. Behind the ridge, I've been tracking enemy movement for 3 hours. I count 8 snipers. They're all using thermal masking, matching their body heat to the sand temperature. They can see you, but you can't see them. How can you see them? Thermal doesn't work." "Because I'm not using thermal, Lieutenant. I'm using something else." The 6th Marine went down leg shot, blood pooling in the sand. "Lieutenant," Mirage said, her voice still calm, "the sandstorm will reach you in 9 minutes. When it does, you won't see anything. But the enemy snipers are using infrared laser designators. They'll be able to see you even in the storm. All of you will die. Then what do we do? Keep your heads down. When the sandstorm hits, don't move. I'll hunt them." In the darkness, Morrison's heart raced. "In the sandstorm, you won't be able to see anything." "On the contrary, Lieutenant, the sandstorm will make them visible to me, because I can see heat differences with 0.1 degree precision." "What? What are you talking about?" The 7th Marine fell. "Lieutenant, you're out of time. I'm moving now. 8 snipers. In the storm. I'll clear them all. Just keep your head down and stay alive." What Lieutenant Morrison didn't know, what nobody in that desert knew, was this. Captain Jade Mitchell was the Army's most lethal desert hunter. 5 tours, specialized in desert warfare. 187 confirmed kills, 85% in extreme heat conditions. Jade had worked with DARPA's experimental microthermal differential imaging technology for 9 months. Not regular thermal, ultra-sensitive sensors that could detect 0.1 degree differences. In the desert, normal thermal scopes didn't work because everything was hot, but Jade's equipment could see micro differences. Human body, 98.6 degrees, sand 140 degrees, but when humans breathed, lungs cooled by 0.3 degrees, when hearts beat, blood warmed by 0.2 degrees, when sweat evaporated, skin cooled by 0.5 degrees. Those micro differences were glowing beacons to Jade. The enemy used thermal masking. They equalized their body temperature to the sand. On normal scopes, they were invisible. On Jade's scope, they were blazing targets. What happened in the next 7 hours would change desert warfare doctrine forever. How one woman hunted 8 invisible snipers inside a sandstorm in 140-degree heat. But before we show you how she did it, drop a comment telling us what extreme environment you think is hardest for soldiers to fight in, and smash that subscribe button, because this story proves that the biggest disadvantage can become the deadliest weapon. Now let's get into it. Jade Mitchell had grown up in the Arizona desert. Her father was a meteorology professor who taught her to read heat currents, to see mirages, to track heat waves. She joined the Army at 19, passed Desert Warfare School, the hottest training. 40% of students dropped out from heat stroke. Jade finished first. 7 years serving in Iraq and Syria. Desert operations. Extreme heat, sometimes 150 degrees. 187 confirmed kills, all in the desert. But 4 years ago, something changed. The enemy started developing new tactics. Thermal masking systems, special cooling vests, technology that equalized body temperature to ambient heat. American forces went blind in the desert. Without thermal, you couldn't find the enemy. Jade remembered that day. A Marine team got ambushed. 9 dead. Enemy snipers were invisible. Thermal didn't work. The desert was too hot. Everything showed white. If thermal doesn't work, what can we use? She had asked herself. It took her 3 years to find the answer. She applied to DARPA, Microthermal Differential Imaging Project, detecting heat differences with 0.1 degree precision. The human body was never perfectly uniform temperature. Breathing, heartbeat, sweat, blood flow, all created micro heat changes. For 9 months, Jade worked with DARPA engineers. They developed an ultra-sensitive thermal sensor array. Normal thermal, 1 to 2 degree sensitivity. Jade's, 0.1 degrees. In the desert at 140 degrees, normal thermal showed nothing, but Jade's equipment showed everything that breathed, had a heartbeat, and sweated. In her first test operation, Jade located and eliminated 6 thermal masked snipers midday heat, 145 degrees. Without using any standard thermal. The Pentagon was shocked, but skeptics said, works in a lab, won't work in real combat. What will she do in a sandstorm? She won't see anything. Jade wanted to prove them wrong. Now, with Alpha Team dying and the sandstorm approaching, it was Jade's time to prove it. The sandstorm hit 9 minutes later, a massive brown wall swallowing the sky. Morrison and his team hit the ground, faces buried in sand. Visibility, 3 meters. Then 1 meter. Then nothing. Don't close your eyes, Morrison shouted. The enemy's still out there. But they couldn't see. Only sand everywhere. Sand. 900 meters away, Jade was climbing the ridge. The sandstorm hit her too. But she smiled. Because now, the advantage was hers. Jade activated her microthermal scope. Normal vision. Brown sand wall. Nothing visible. Microthermal vision. 8 glowing silhouettes. Human shapes, prone positions with rifles. The enemy snipers were trying to hide in the storm. But their bodies were still breathing. Heart still beating. Sweat still evaporating. Each breath equals 0.3 degree cooling in lungs. Each heartbeat equals 0.2 degree warming. Blood flow. Each sweat drop equals 0.5 degree cooling. Evaporation. Jade's scope captured those micro differences. The enemy was glowing. Alpha Team, Jade whispered into the radio. I have visual on 8 targets. The storm made them visible to me. Beginning elimination. Morrison responded, his voice lost in the wind. You can see in the storm. Affirmative. They can't hide because they're breathing. First target, 520 meters northeast. Jade saw him in her scope. Glowing silhouette. Prone position. Rifle aimed at Alpha Team. Jade raised her ultra-stabilized rifle, M2010 Enhanced Sniper Rifle, 300 Win Mag, stable even in storms, 520 meters, Wind 45 miles per hour left-right. Sand particles will deflect bullet. Temperature 142 degrees, Jade calculated. Shooting in a sandstorm. She'd never done before, but math was math. Wind compensation 8 MOA left. Elevation 3.2 MOA up. Sand deflection estimate 0.5 MOA random. Breath control. Exhale. Natural pause. Squeeze. The bullet entered the storm, collided with sand particles, trajectory slightly deflected, but accurate enough. In the microthermal scope, target's signature suddenly changed. Breathing stopped. Heart stopped. Body began cooling. Sniper number 1. Neutralized. 7 remaining. Jade immediately moved. 30 meters right. New position. 2 targets 640 meters west. Working together. Jade watched their microthermal signatures. 1 shooter, 1 spotter. Spotter's heartbeat was faster. 95 beats per minute. Stressed alert. Shooter's 72 beats per minute. Calm. Professional. Spotter first. Jade aimed. 645 meters. Wind 50 miles per hour. Target moving. Turning his head. Lid shot 2 feet right. Shot. Microthermal. Spotter's signature collapsed. Fell. Shooter immediately reacted, checking his partner. Second shot. 3 seconds later, 640 meters. Shooter fell. 2 targets neutralized. 5 remaining. 1 enemy sniper panicked, trying to relocate. Jade saw him in motion. Microthermal signature running. Breathing rate accelerated. Heart 120 beats per minute. Target speed approximately 6 miles per hour. Range 580 meters. Jade calculated lead shot. Fire 12 feet ahead. Shot target after 4 steps. Hit the ground. 3 targets neutralized. 4 remaining. 1 sniper had hidden in a cave 720 meters southwest. Inside the cave, shadow, darkness. Even the storm couldn't reach there. Normal thermal, nothing. Jade's microthermal. Breath was visible. Human breath, 0.4 degrees warmer than cave air. A small heat cloud coming from the cave entrance. Rhythmic. Every 4 seconds, someone breathing. Jade calculated the source of the breath cloud. 6 feet inside cave. Ground level, likely prone position. Blind shot. Into cave. 720 meters. Shot. 5 seconds of silence. Then, breath cloud stopped. 4 targets neutralized. 3 remaining. The remaining 3 enemy snipers understood. Their comrades were dying by an invisible enemy. Inside the sandstorm, panic, radio traffic. Jade's electromagnetic sensor caught it Arabic. "She can see us! How can she see us? We're in the storm!" Response: "Shut up! Don't move! Don't breathe!" "How can I not breathe?" Transmission cut off. Jade smiled. "Without breathing, you can last 2 minutes. I'm more patient." 1 enemy was holding his breath, 890 meters north. Jade watched him. Microthermal signature began fading. No breathing equals CO. 2 dropping equals body temperature micro dropping. 45 seconds later, signature trembled. Enemy had to breathe. Deep breath equals 0.6 degree temperature spike. Lungs expanding, blood rush. Jade saw that spike. Shot. 890 meters. Signature collapsed. 5 targets neutralized. 2 remaining. 1 enemy tried burying himself in sand. Only head exposed. Jade saw him in microthermal. Body buried in sand. Temperature masked, but head exposed. Facial sweat evaporating. 0.7 degree cooling. Glowing point. 620 meters. Small target. Head only. Jade waited patiently. Target yawned. Open mouth. Hot breath escaped. That moment. Shot. 6 targets neutralized. 1 remaining. The last enemy sniper was the best. 60 minutes motionless, as if not breathing, as if heart not beating. Jade tried every method. No microthermal signature. How is he doing this, she thought. Then she realized Enemy was shallow breathing, very slow, very shallow. Yogic technique, dropped heart rate to 40 beats per minute, but no human. Was perfect. Jade waited 90 minutes. Patiently. Sandstorm slowed, but still no visibility. Then, enemy made a mistake. Moved his finger. Trigger finger. Small muscle contraction. Muscle contraction equals micro blood flow equals 0.15 degree heat increase. Visible for 1 second, then gone. But Jade had seen it. Position 1,020 meters northeast. Prone. Behind rock. Longest shot. In Sandstorm, microthermal signature visible 1 second. Jade calculated everything 1,020 meters. Wind 40 miles per hour. Maximum sand deflection. Target based on microsignature. Breath. Pause. Squeeze. Bullet flew 2.8 seconds. Disappeared into Sandstorm. Jade waited in her scope. 10 seconds. 20 seconds. Then, new signature appeared. Red color. Blood. Fresh blood. Warmer than sand. 7 targets neutralized. All clear. Alpha team, this is Mirage. 8 enemy snipers neutralized. You're clear to move. Sandstorm will stop in 20 minutes. Morrison couldn't believe it. You killed all of them? In the Sandstorm. Affirmative, Lieutenant. 7 hours. 8 targets. 0 standard thermal used. But we couldn't see anything. Because you were looking at the wrong thing, Lieutenant. You tried to see. I tried to feel. The Sandstorm stopped 22 minutes later. Morrison and his team stood up. When they saw Jade, shock. She was 32 years old, average height, lean build. But her equipment was from another planet. Microthermal scope, 3 times larger than normal scopes. Sensor array on her shoulder, on her back. Ultra-stabilized rifle, custom design. Captain Jade Mitchell, she said, extending her hand. Sorry I couldn't warn you earlier. I've been watching for 3 hours, but command channels were jammed. Morrison shook her hand. You killed 8 snipers in a sandstorm when we couldn't see anything. I saw them, Lieutenant. Microthermal differential imaging. 0.1 degree precision. The human body is never uniform temperature. Breath, heartbeat, sweat, all create microheat changes. I see those changes. Davies approached. Ma'am, we've been looking for these snipers for 2 weeks. Thermal didn't work because the desert's too hot. How did you find them? Because I don't use normal thermal, I work with 0.1 degree precision. The desert can be 140 degrees. Human body is 98.6 degrees. But when humans breathe, their lungs cool by 0.3 degrees. When hearts beat, blood warms by 0.2 degrees. Those micro differences are glowing markers to me. Morrison nodded. And the sandstorm. The sandstorm became my advantage because the enemy thought they were hidden, but their bodies were still metabolizing, still breathing. In the darkness, they were brighter targets to me. 6 weeks later, the Pentagon. Captain Mitchell, what you've done has changed desert warfare doctrine. Microthermal imaging will now be standard for all desert units. Jade spent the next year training 600 operators microthermal tactics, desert hunting, extreme heat operations. The enemy continued using thermal masking, but now it was useless. American forces were finding them through micro differences. Second operation, 8 weeks later, another Marine team was ambushed. 12 enemy snipers. Midday heat, 148 degrees. Jade and 4 trained operators deployed in 90 minutes. All 12 targets neutralized. Jade took 7. Her team took 5. 0 friendly casualties. Third operation, special target. Intelligence identified a legendary enemy sniper, the Desert Phantom. 67 coalition kills over 3 years. Never seen. Jade tracked him for 4 days. In the desert hills. Extreme heat. 152 degrees. Day 5. Sandstorm came. Phantom hid. Perfect thermal masking. Shallow breathing. 38 beats per minute heart. But 3 hours later, sweat drop. From his forehead evaporated. 0.8 degree cooling, visible 0.3 seconds. Jade saw it. 1,240 meters, longest shot. In Sandstorm, single shot. Phantom down. 67 American soldiers avenged end of Jade's deployment. 53 enemy snipers eliminated, all in extreme heat. 140 plus degrees, 70% in sandstorms. 0 friendly casualties under her command. The Pentagon made Jade's program mandatory for all desert units. Operators she trained reached 780. Enemy sniper effectiveness in desert operations dropped 80%. The psychological impact was massive. Enemy snipers now feared the desert. Thermal masking didn't work. Sandstorms didn't protect. The Americans can see us. We don't know how. But they see us. Jade, at a conference, to new operators. The enemy thinks they're invisible. They use thermal masking hide in sandstorms. But they forget. The body is a machine. It metabolizes, breathes, hearts beat, sweat. Those processes create heat, micro heat changes. If you look with enough sensitivity, nothing is truly invisible. The Marines named her the Mirage Hunter because in the desert, in heat waves when nothing could be seen, she saw. The enemy called her Jinn, desert demon, invisible, everywhere, deadly. But to Jade, it was just math, heat, difference. Precision 8 snipers, first storm, then 12, then 53 total. The desert thought it belonged to them. Captain Jade Mitchell showed them they were wrong. Invisibility doesn't exist. You're just looking at the wrong sensitivity.